Hey guys. So, oh boy. I'm not going to start the video as I normally would because I feel like it's a little different at this point as we are continuing on the RVB train. This is going to be my reaction to Red vs. Blue Season 10 episodes 14, 15, and 16. And last week's episode kind of gave me the idea that last week was the spark and these next three episodes is going to be the blaze that's going to build out of control with the downfall of Project Freelancer. If you're watching this right now, then I guess it's fine to just mention that this is the third to last batch for season 10. 14, 15, and 16. After this one, it'll be 17, 18, and 19, which if you're watching this on YouTube, that batch is available on Patreon. And then the following week is going to be 20, 21, and 22, if I'm not mistaken, which is the wrap-up of season 10 as a whole. And I really have no idea what to expect at this point. And the reason why I'm starting this video in a very calm and collected tone is because the last two batches that I watched really broke me. From CT's death to seeing York again, or a semblance of York again, and kind of revealing his feelings for Carolina and realizing that she's alive and he's not. And there were so many things that he wanted for her, for the better of her, for the better of her health. And, you know, for the fact of her not letting go of petty squabbles or always trying to be the best. And it was just a very painful way of realizing the good and the bad of these characters. The good in the sense that they're good people and I want the best for them, but the bad in the sense of what happened to most of them. I liked last week's batch for the most part. So many reactions, so many reveals that came to light. I just wrapped up my discussion portion that you guys will be seeing once that goes up on YouTube. But, you know, the present isn't really ramping up as much as I thought it would, which I'm actually really happy by because it gives Carolina a time to kind of mend the wounds that haven't really, you know, she hasn't had time to really heal since Project Freelancer up to where we are now. She's giving everybody shit and she's not opening up with anybody. And it wasn't really until Epsilon came through and gave her the memory. You know, memory is the key, and trying to open up in that regard. And seeing what she's going through and seeing what Wash is going through as a sideline, you know, realizing friends, you know, the thing Caboose said to him, like, you know, we can trust you. We are friends after all. And the concept of a friend, the concept of starting over, the concept of building up what you once had is such a tragedy, and it really broke my heart to see York and to see that things could have been so fucking different. And that's another thing in its entirety. And I feel like I'm rambling a little bit at the beginning here, but I'm trying to get it all out there before I jump into this batch because I don't know what the fuck's gonna happen. I don't know how I'm gonna feel at the end of this, so I'm trying to kind of keep my composure as I move forward, you know, with everything that's happened. The one thing that Carolina said that kind of blew the doors wide open in terms of my perception of it is that, you know, Sigma was her AI, that it's her fault that everything happened. And my initial perception of that was the classroom scene, meta stability. I was like, okay, Sigma was the reason for the meta. That's it. And it's like, no, Sigma has weaseled his way and has played everybody like a fiddle. You know, for his creative goals, you know, with teaming up with the other AI, teaming up with Gamma, which we got to see for the first time, which was super cool. You know, the angel and the devil concept with them both kind of feeding on Carolina's insecurities of not being the best, not being good enough, feeling inadequate, and using that to their advantage of pushing everybody else back. Because now there's this domino effect that happens where because Carolina not only gave up Sigma, but took Iota and Ada and Iota, that in turn creates the domino effect for what happens to Washington with Epsilon, with what happens with South and North, with what happens with the meta as a whole, and it's a fucking tragedy. It's sad. It's bittersweet, and like, I'm excited to watch these episodes, but I'm not, because I feel like I'm going to have my heart torn apart at the same time it being put together with all the excitement of actually seeing everything for the first time. So it's a weird dynamic, I know, but I don't want to ramble anymore moving forward. The Carolina Carolina in the Morning OST, I've been listening to that track for the last week, and it hurt so much to listen to. That was the track that was playing when we saw York and North talking, just casual dudes being real, being friends, up at like midnight, 1 in the morning, just talking about real stuff and being, they felt so real, and Carolina's struggles felt real, and seeing York confess like how he felt about her felt real, and I don't know, I almost, if I didn't know any better, I'd say these were real people. That's how incredible the writing was, you know, the writing that Bernie put into this story and how real these characters feel to me. But at this point, as we move into this batch, the last thing that we kind of got of the batch that before it wrapped up last week was Carolina is seemingly going to get Ada and Iota, two new AI. Hopefully we find out the natures of them, like what they are based for the alpha, and how that affects Carolina, because we know she didn't have them for long, and she basically did it to flex on the fact that she wanted to prove to Tex herself that she can beat her. Tex also has Omega, so Gamma and Omega are in the picture already, and they've also been torturing the Alpha for more AI, so I don't think Epsilon's been created yet, and I'm wondering how this is going to in turn affect Washington getting Epsilon and South not getting an AI altogether. But that's everything I kind of wanted to get off my shoulders. I'm sorry again that it was a ramble. This is going to be 14, 15, and 16. Again, I want to just say thank you guys so much for watching these reactions, for continuing to engage in the comment section. Thank you as well to the mods who have been kind of keeping my chat spoiler free. Thankfully, it's been a pretty smooth transition this entire time. And we have 3 batches left, so I hope you guys enjoy this one and the ones to come. But without further ado, let us begin. All right, guys, we're going to be jumping into Red vs. Blue Season 10, Episode 14 through 16. This is a 3-episode batch, but this is probably the shortest batch of this season that we've gotten so far. It's about 15, 16 minutes. So just wanted to let you guys know that the reaction itself might be really short, but nonetheless, I'll probably have a lot to say after the fact. But with all that said, thank you guys again for the support. As always, leave your thoughts in the comment section. And without further ado, we're going to be starting in 3, 2, 1, now. All right, here we go.
This is bullshit.
So, they found out she's not getting one.
That's easy for you to say. You already have an AI.
Yeah.
Who the fuck is she to take away our place? Our turn.
2! Carolina!
What?
You ever notice every time you open your mouth, you make things worse?
Yep.
2 AI? Why
2?
is she so special? What's so special about either of them?
Fuck, man. This is the start of the end. Wow, and Texas.
Pick it up.
Oh! Oh, fuck.
What are you doing in here? You never come in here.
Oh,
come for Carolina.
My God.
Pick it up.
Oh, my God! Are you really gonna throw down right now with Tex? Oh, damn. Tex, look at that.
I should probably,
Go talk to your sister, please.
Where is she?
Look, Texas, I don't know if you're looking for a fight or whatever it is you want, but now's really not the time.
I
Carolina
know.
just went into surgery. We don't know when she'll be out, so we're
She's gonna
heading
get
over to
2
recovery
AI.
to wait for her.
What's that?
Yeah, Recovery 1. Maybe you should come with us.
What? Recovery 1?
Let's go.
What?
You coming, Texas?
Yeah.
That's a reference. What's
I'm
the
right behind you.
necklace? What's the necklace? What does she know? Holy fuck, that was so intense! Yo, South would be crazy enough to do some shit like that. She was aggressive as fuck.
This is the awesome
But she has
base.
every right to be
Looks
2
like the
AI.
shield
That's
base
not
to me.
cool,
Of course,
Carolina.
gotta
That's
know
not what a
that.
team
Now,
leader
you guys got home
does.
away from home?
You're the
You'll be
squad
interviewed.
leader.
So let me get this straight. It's just 2 bases.
She had her
in the middle
faults
of a
too,
box
though.
canyon.
You know?
But on one side is the wall. There's an Tidewater. Wow.
Box canyon.
You guys really know how to upgrade.
Yeah.
Let me guess. I bet this time we've got a tank with 8 pedals instead of 6. Don't be silly.
Why are there 6 pedals if there are only 4 directions? Okay, so this was back in season 6, where they like read the logs and like with Tex and the aliens.
Not much. A few shell casings, a dog tag.
I was talking to church.
Oh, sorry.
That's what they call me?
Yeah. Find anything yet?
Oh, not yet. But the onboard computer program's an old friend of mine. She's doing her
Phyllis?
best to help me out.
Good.
Wait,
Keep it up.
Wait, is Phyllis he's talking about?
The reason you're just standing there doing nothing. Get back to it.
Come on,
Right.
ease up.
Yes,
Don't
sir,
be a
boss.
hard. Yes, sir, boss.
Can't keep your secrets forever, Texas. Not from me.
What
Never from me.
What secrets? I mean that she's an AI? Oh shit! The two! Ain't no. Oh, gravity engaged. Yo, zero. Oh, disengaged. Okay. Holy shit. Oh! That's where they put Cortana for Master Chief. Two! Oh. Does she have two minds?
So, how's the patient?
Holy shit! Who's that?
Moment.
Who's that? Is that
What's he
Maine?
in for?
Probably for all the
Oh my
headaches
god!
he's been having.
Oh,
Do you ever get the memory you
Sigma!
learned Delta?
At first, they went away pretty quick though. The other side
She's
effects were way
resting.
worse.
What other side effects?
You know, bleeding from the eyes, ringing ears,
What?
inverted penis.
Inverted what?
I'm just fucking with you, okay? Couple of headaches.
Oh yeah, he
That's
doesn't
it.
have.
What's
He
different
does.
about Maine?
Oh no! Hold on!
Hey,
Hold on!
she's awake.
Pause. They're giving Wash all of these side effects, like, oh yeah, they'll, you know, if they can't sleep, you can't sleep. Whatever they think, you think. You know, mild headaches, ringing in the ears, and then when he gets Epsilon, his mind's gonna be fucked. He's probably expecting the minimum of it. I have no idea what it's gonna be like. I wonder if they're gonna show that mental, like, collapse for both him and Epsilon. She's awake now, so she's gonna be completely fucked. And Maine is having, like, migraines because he's slowly turning into a husk.
Jake, how you feeling, champ?
Bad. Not herself.
I want a match. Right now.
No. She's fucking power hungry. No.
Agent Texas versus Agent Carolina.
Oh! What? Oh! Oh! Is this really happening?
Okay, just pick a piece of equipment you know how to use it.
Oh my god.
Or just
Oh
grab
my
everything
God.
and anything. That works too, I guess.
Carolina! Oh my... Yeah, of course Sigma's got a front fucking row seat. Oh my god! Ah!
Next time.
Agent York, clear the floor.
In a second, Phyllis.
Oh my god!
Now, at first the voice of the
Wait.
AIs, it will feel like a tickle, okay? Just focus on them and it will get clearer. Trust them. I know that'll be hard.
She's not even
Promise they'll
listening to you. She's not even listening to
help.
you,
In a second,
dude.
Phyllis.
Clear the floor or enter the match, York. Your choice.
Oh boy.
For the record, I would stay to support you, but she's really damn scary. Okay, maybe
Not
you're
as
both pretty
scary as you.
Gotta go.
Wow, look at that. He cared about you so much. Ah! 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 Ah!
Anyone want to bet that one of them gets killed?
Hey, no, yo! Oh my god! Texas Carolina!
2, 1.
The grudge match of a century!
Thanks. I won't need it.
Good luck, thanks, I won't. Wow, they're both on the same wavelength.
What the hell is going on here? No matches have been authorized.
What?
No, Allison!
What? Ah! No! No! What is happening? Oh, the sarcophagus! Oh my god! Oh my god! What the fuck is that? Oh my god!
Make them stop! Make them stop the voices! Make the voices stop!
Director, we should sedate Carolina immediately. We have no idea how much damage 2 AI could.
No, she made her decision. Let her be.
No!
Help her! What the fuck is going on? Somebody get down here!
It doesn't affect her because she's an AI. This fucking guy.
All dismissed.
What? Do it? Omega, fuck
Sorry,
off.
kid. This is for your own good. Nothing.
Oh my god.
Dead end. Damn it, not again.
Hey, watch it! I'm still in here. Response teams
Oh
beat us to
my
the crash.
fucking
Plain and simple.
god.
We knew the chances of finding something here were...
Oh my fucking god. What the fuck, dude? What the fuck is in that sarcophagus? What the hell affected all of them? The director said Allison reached out to her, and then all of the freelancers who have AI were like in a daze. Did the director... I have no... Hold on, I gotta go back. What the fuck?
Are you kidding? I'm hoping one of us doesn't get killed just by watching.
Round begins in 3.
This wasn't even authorized.
1. Begin. Good luck, lady.
Thanks. I won't need it.
And the director's like, nope, she made her choice. Fuck that guy.
What's going on here? No matches have been authorized for. No, Allison!
See, Washington's not affected. Maine, oh my god. What the fuck is that? Who is Ada and Iota?
Make them stop! Make them stop the voices! Make the voices stop!
Director, we should sedate Carolina immediately. We have no idea how much damage 2 AI could.
No, she made her decision. Let her be.
Come on, somebody help her!
What the fuck is going on? Somebody get down here.
I can't believe this guy, man. Fuck,
You
dude.
are all dismissed.
You're gonna be dismissed. Omega wanted text to kill her.
Sorry, kid. This is for your own good.
That was a mercy shot for her. Put her out of her misery for the time being.
Nothing. Dead end. Damn it,
Fucking
not
God,
again.
my head hurts so hard
Hey,
right
watch
now.
it! I'm still in here. Response teams beat us to the crash. Plain and simple. We knew the chances of finding something here were slim. Okay, well, what about the bases? Blue base was swept clean. As for
Can't
red base...
believe this, dude. I can't believe this, dude. I have like a fucking migraine from the amount of information that I'm trying to process. I literally feel like that gave me a headache. Oh my god. I was hyped as fuck. I'm like, the grudge match I've been looking forward to. Who's really the best? Who's really number one? Oh my god, everything's happening too fast. Main, Sigma. These 2 new AI, Omega. Fucking Omega, man. Alright.
Any evidence that might have been there was completely destroyed during the construction of some kind of giant holographic projection room. Man, Those guys are really starting to find creative ways to ruin my life.
Oh, it's the
This
base,
is our
the
third
red base.
wild goose chase, Wash. Even after she's gone, Texas is still finding ways to screw me over.
You can't blame her for this. Time isn't on our side, Carolina. Any trails he left behind likely went cold years ago.
Are you suggesting we give up?
Of course not. I was just
Good. Then go spread the word. We're leaving.
Come on, man.
got
Where are we
to.
going
What's your
now?
point? Well, don't you think we're pushing these guys a little too hard? This place is pretty much home to them. They may not be ready to leave it so soon.
Exactly.
I'm real choked up about it.
Despite what those idiots may think, this is not a
I like
road
how
trip.
Wash is defending them.
This is a mission, and I will see it completed. Is that understood, Agent Washington?
Yes, boss.
I can't believe you.
What the hell happened to that guy? Didn't he used to be a badass like you and Tex? Ow! I'm a badass, just like you. Just you. Only you.
Yeah,
Only,
okay.
Nobody else.
Tex is the trigger word for her. No, Washington just realizes these people are good people. They don't need to be dragged into your fucking garbage. They don't need your baggage. No birds! What? You know who I am? My name's MurderofBirds. How are you gonna have no birds allowed?
Compost? Sustainable farming? Environmentally friendly housing? Oh no. What?
Hey, guys! I thought I heard voices.
Oh my God,
Hi, Sarge! Long time no see!
I thought you were dead. We sure seem to say that a lot these days.
I almost was. That jerk Washington shot me in the stomach, but then my armor locked up on me. Kept me alive for a while.
Oh my
until I
God!
locked again for some
Ending
reason.
recovery
It
mode.
was
All
horrible.
units.
Do you know what removes blood
Oh
stains from this
my
armor?
God! I'm
Not a
so
lot, I tell you.
happy.
I laid there forever wondering how I was going to get all that dark red out of this light red, you know?
How did you survive? When your armor unlocked, you would have just bled to death. And where did you get all new agent? Uh-oh. What? Sarge, think about it. Medical attention? Fringe holistic lifestyle choices?
Doc?
You know what that means.
Wow! Oh my God! Oh my God!
Spit out like a hairball. Hey, guys!
Oh, the things are
Doc
here!
behind us. Get my gun. You're holding it, sir. Oh, right.
Oh my
I'm gonna need you
God!
to commence
They're
Operation
back!
Point My Gun at Doc. Sir, Operation Point My Gun at Doc is just a code phrase for Operation Point My Gun at Griff. Brett!
Oh,
Switch to Operation Point My
oh
Gun
my
at Griff.
God!
Actually,
Doc
now it
and
was just
Donut are back
Double Brett!
right before the season ended. Holy shit! That's so cool. Oh my God!
Hey, you, orange one. Where's the rest of your team?
How should I know?
You don't report into each other?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Oh my goodness! That was like the best fan service you could have given me. I've been wanting Donut back since I found out that he lived.
Let's move out.
Holy
Hey, guys.
shit!
Find Lopez?
yeah. Donut nailed him to a board. He's staying here.
I thought Donut was dead.
Yeah, we
Exactly.
really need to stop saying that. He almost was.
Oh
But Doc
my
fixed him up and now they
God.
live together. They say hi, by the way. Oh, and they baked us this banana bread.
How nice. I'm gonna have to forget
I
that
hope,
Donut thing.
hope you like nuts.
Hey, Simmons, when you say Donut nailed Lopez to a board,
I mean with nails.
okay.
No, I understand. I should have been clear.
Yo,
That's my
I
fault.
love having him back already.
Hey, what's the deal? We're leaving already?
That's right. You got a problem with that?
Carolina, let me handle this.
Come on, guys. You're gonna run them
I want to
ragged.
know what you found out about Carolina. Is she evil? Is she crazy? Is she crazy evil? Is she pretty? Oh, yeah. Is she hot? Oh, guys. I've got a
Oh
little
yeah,
thing
they
for you
haven't
right
seen
now.
what she
What are
looks
you
like
talking
under her
about?
helmet.
You're supposed to be spying on her. She's the enemy, remember? Us against them. Hey, you don't know anything about her, Tucker.
Oh
No
boy,
idea what she said.
Epsilon.
When did look? You guys just get in the fucking car so we can leave already. Thank you.
Holy shit. Just trust
What was
Epsilon.
that about?
Nothing. I need to talk to you.
Yeah. Don't we all? Oh my God. Oh my God, York!
No idea. Docs thought she would have woken up by now, but she's still under.
How long has he been there?
He hasn't left her side
Ever
yet,
since.
It's been days.
and he's dedicated.
You know, your sister petitioned to get one of Carolina's AIs.
She didn't.
Sure did.
She wants it that
I'll
bad.
talk to her. That's inappropriate.
Yeah, inappropriate's a word. So is vulture. Piece of advice, one soldier to another, you watch her.
Something's different with you.
Fuck.
You have an AI, right?
Theta, yeah.
Take some getting used to?
I'll say.
Oh my
well,
god.
let's just say mine took a little longer than most.
Is this a heart-to-heart she's having with someone?
You've been, pulling him?
Haven't used him in days.
Does the director know?
No.
No.
He's not going to. No one needs to know.
They have to stop implanting now.
I love how everyone lets their walls down around North.
You're kidding me.
Time marches on. So does Project Freelancer.
Hold on. I didn't hear what she
Lately,
just said there.
You've been, pulling him?
Haven't used him in days.
Does the director know?
She could have killed
No,
Carolina
he's
because
not
of
going
Omega.
to. No one needs to know.
They have to stop implanting now. I mean, after this.
Nope.
Wash is up for surgery next.
You're kidding.
Fuck!
Time marches on. So does Project Freelancer.
Oh no!
Lately, it seems like we're getting trampled in the process.
Hey, call me when she wakes up. Or if she doesn't.
Will do.
She actually cares.
I think I'm starting to like her.
Yeah.
At least better than I did before.
Yeah, she grows on you.
Still scary though.
Oh yeah, plenty scary.
Yeah, she's a badass. Epsilon! Epsilon's next!
Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, no! The scenario!
Don't leave. Hey, counselor, are you there?
I'm here.
What? What
Oh,
happened?
no.
Is everybody okay?
Perhaps you should ask the director.
Why?
It's Alpha.
Hello, Alpha.
Director, please, what is going on?
There was another incident. Security failed.
The schematics are they're too complex. I just need more time to work on them.
It's not your fault.
How can you say that? Of course it is. Was anybody hurt?
I am sorry. Yes. Washington and another died.
Oh my fucking god!
I can't say.
Who? Who died?
Agent Texas.
No!
Oh my god.
No!
That's too far, Gamma. We need stronger stimulus. No break.
Fuck, man!
He's ready. Bring in the stasis units.
You three, log off.
Fuck these guys! Fuck every single one of them, dude!
You can't
Favorites!
the artifact. Too dangerous. Your job is done. Log off. As you wish. Get us another memory unit. A new one. Don't let it touch anything else.
He's not logging off, he's sticking around! What is in this thing? Oh! That's
Move
the
all other equipment
Halo
away from
Reach!
it.
Virgil!
That's right, it's broken. We broke it. And we need you to fix it just
The
like we've done
engineer!
before.
The engineer! Ah!
Use this to fix it. Make it better. Take away all that is broken. That's right. Put them in here.
It is done.
Epsilon.
Welcome to the world, Epsilon. Today is
your birthday. Oh my god. Wash is gonna get him next episode. Wash is gonna get Epsilon next episode. Oh my god, dude. He fucking lied and said text because he knew that that would hurt him the most. my God! This show, dude. I literally need a minute. I literally need a minute, dude. Omega, Gamma, Sigma. Used against Epsilon. Threw away Carolina like she was nothing. York staying by her side makes last week's batch so much more painful. Carolina having some humanity in her. Being compassionate, caring. Realizing she's not as bad as Omega is. South is gone. She's fucking done. She's done. Maine is on the cusp of becoming the meta. And after Epsilon gets implanted, that's it. Game over. Next week is it. Next week is fucking it, dude. Next week is fucking it, dude. I have no idea how I'm going to prepare for that. No clue. No idea. I need a minute before we get into the discussion. That was too much. That was too much. Hey guys, so really quick, a bit of time has passed from the reaction that you guys just saw to where I'm sitting down right now to record the discussion portion of everything that I just experienced. Obviously, I have a haircut. About a week time has passed. This has been a little bit of a delay, both on YouTube's front and on Patreon's front, and I do apologize for that. We're wrapping up Season 10 basically at this point with this batch. I'm going to give you guys my thoughts, opinions, speculations, and the overall discussion of it. We have episodes 17, 18, and 19 for the next batch, and then 20, 21, and I believe 22 is the season finale for Season 10, of which, once that's finished, I'm going to be doing what I did previously with the last season of giving my thoughts and opinions and my take of listening to the Red vs. Blue Season 10 soundtrack for the first time, and then I'm going to do an all-encompassing wrap-up of my overall thoughts of Season 10 with a Season 10 review. I think after that, I will put Red vs. Blue on a bit of... but basically put it on the back burner for when Ruby Volume 7 comes out. That way, between now and Ruby 7, I can focus on Twitch streaming. I can focus on playing like maybe 1 or 2 games before Ruby 7 comes out, because then when Ruby comes out, my life is going to be completely taken over by that. And then sometime next year, after Ruby 7 wraps up, I will be returning for Seasons 11, 12, and 13. Miles' take on Red vs. Blue for the Chorus Trilogy. So I just kind of wanted to let you guys know about that before we jump into the overall discussion, because I know, number one, this video is late from when it was initially supposed to go out, and by proxy, since I'm recording this late, this is as well delaying the next batch that's supposed to go out for Patreon. So I do appreciate the support, regardless of the fact that these schedules are a little bit rambunctious as of right now in terms of the upload schedule. This is a big investment that I do every week, and it's kind of like it takes the whole week to put a video like this together, from sitting down and watching the new batch of reactions, the new batch of episodes for the reaction, and then rewatching the episode numerous times to get a rough idea from my notes, and then finalizing those notes in a final draft, and then sitting down on a video like this and recording for 2 to 3 hours at a time, and then taking all of that footage, editing it down, and uploading it on YouTube for you guys. And I know it's a big investment. It's something that I want to do. It's something that I'm proud of doing. It's something that I know a lot of you guys enjoy out of me in terms of weekly content for Red vs. Blue. And I definitely want to continue that. And I do things similarly to Ruby. However, it's a little different for Ruby because I'm caught up, so I'm able to do live stream discussions and talk to you guys in real time in the chat. Whereas RVB, because I don't want to be spoiled, I'm not able to do that. So I kind of compile everything in a single video, so the majority of people can watch one video and either stick around for the reaction, or they can stick around for the reaction and the discussion if that's the content that they enjoy. So, with all of that said, welcome to the after part of my reactions for Red vs. Blue Season 10 episodes 14, 15, and 16. This is going to be my portion where, this is going to be the portion, rather, where I jump into kind of theorizing, speculating, breaking down, and discussing the episode in great length and great detail, as I usually do. And for this, we have episodes 14 to 16, which is New and Improved, Three's a Crowd, and Happy Birthday. And as per usual, I am back to doing more notes. I think I have 4 pages this week. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 pages. And I also marked this notebook at this point because 2/3 of it has been filled with nothing but red versus blue. Like this entire book, from what I've written, this entire book has been nothing but red versus blue notes. So this is dubbed my RVB season 8 through 10 book. I'm probably going to jump back into this book when seasons 11, 12, and 13 starts. I actually have to buy a new notebook for when that happens, because I'm planning on doing this format, especially when, you know, after the Course Trilogy, the Shizno Paradox, and whatever the hell they have for RVB by the time I'm caught up. But with all of that said, a lot of things to talk about, a lot of things to break down and add on before we get into the next batch of episodes. A lot of things that really caught my attention. And as you guys know, we're kind of coming to a close for season 10 as of right now. A lot of things that have been built up from the show as early as the miniseries and season 6 are kind of coming to fruition now with the freelancers and their AI. Epsilon has been created. We know what that's going to mean for Washington, what that in turn is going to mean for the project as a whole, for Project Freelancer, everyone going rogue, Alpha's state, and you know, and the fate of Alpha for Blood Gulch. And everything else like that in between. So I kind of want to jump into that. But before I do that, I mentioned this in a comment for the last discussion, rather the last video that went up on YouTube. But there was two parts of my discussion last week that I completely glossed over. I had them written down in my notes, but I guess I was just kind of rambling as I do, and I kind of overlooked a part of my notes that I wrote down for. All right, so this was mainly present in the episode between York and Carolina, where Epsilon was kind of digging through the memories of himself to kind of find Epsilon Delta and the logs of York, and he was going through like this glitchy kind of phase where he was, I don't know, it looked like he was like malfunctioning, if you will, and then he has like a different aesthetic when you see him in his little computerized AI form, and he just looks like he's malfunctioning and glitching out of control. I don't know if it's based on him as an AI, but it was the moment that was at the beginning and the end of the York and Carolina moment, as well as what he said to Tucker regarding his connection with Carolina.
Carolina?
I'm done talking to you.
Carolina, I think I found something you might want to see, because I know what it's like to spend your life chasing ghosts. Hey, Church, over here! Yeah, hey, well, I can't talk too long. My connection from Carolina's memory unit's not so good.
And I don't know if this is based on a couple of things. So first off, the idea of like a fragment going rampant. I don't know if it's based on that because he is a fragment, so he's not treated the same way as like Alpha or as Cortana, which I know full AI go through like a 7-year cycle of operation before they start going through the stages and eventually have to be terminated because they think themselves to death and all that other stuff. Epsilon, of course, has lasted for years, even from the moment that he was created in the capture unit, in the memory unit of Project Freelancer, all the way to where we are now. And I don't even know how long Epsilon's going to be a part of the story before whatever the hell happens, because I don't know the fate of him or any of these characters. I don't know what's happening by the time season 17 rolls around. So I think it might be a fact of like wear and tear, the fact that he's just existed for so long, and like every computer program, things break, if things aren't maintained and kept up to par, they just degrade over time. Also, I think it's based on the fact that memory is the key, and he, in essence, is memory. And if he's breaking off all of these memories of himself, right, breaking off Epsilon Tex, breaking off Epsilon Delta from time to time, if he goes through all of these Epsilon iterations of himself, Epsilon Gamma, Epsilon Theta, Epsilon Eta, and Iota, what is left of Epsilon? You know what I mean? So I don't know if this is a result of him tapping into his memory a little too much, because it happened for the first time now, you know, and he's gone into his Epsilon Delta form a couple of times in the past, like in the Orb, and for the first time when the capture unit first opened and stuff like that. So I just don't know if this is a cause for concern, like if I should be alarmed, if I should be worried, because it's just something that I've never seen before. And I completely forgot to mention it in last week's batch. It was in my notebook and I kind of glossed over it because I think I was like rambling about something else and it got lost in my transitions, if you will. So Epsilon glitching, or church glitching rather, is, I don't know if it's a byproduct of how long he's existed, if it's because he's dipping into his memories a little too much, or if they just went for like a kind of aesthetic-y type of feel for that moment, which, I don't know, it just kind of set me off. So the glitching was a little bit of a concern. I kind of wanted to bring that to y'all's attention just so you guys knew that I was aware of it. And the second thing that I wanted to talk about, aside from that, and this was mainly from a comment that was brought to my attention, I thought it was really cool and it kind of fits the whole theme of Project Freelancer, the freelancers themselves and everything. So every freelancer is named after a state. Florida, Georgia, Texas, Maine, York, Wyoming, North, South Dakota, whatever. I think that it's so cool that you have the director and the counselor representing Washington, D.C., right? Washington director, counselor. And I don't know. I know that they're like the leaders of everything and they're like the higher ups of Project Freelancer that oversee the AI and the freelancers themselves. But I just think that the level of attention to detail for that too, like they just have titles, and even though they only have titles and not like official names, those titles still work in with the whole, like Washington DC is the capital of the United States and the states are the freelancers. So, and then the freelancers are also the necessity, which is based on the mother of invention, which houses everything. So everything kind of comes together in that way. I think that's really cool. And for those of you who didn't know that, that's kind of like a nice little fun fact because I discovered that from the comments of someone. I'll try to find it so I can include it in this part here so I can give proper credit to whoever it was that I read that off of. But I thought that was really cool and I just wanted to mention that as well. But with all of that out of the way, because I feel like this intro is like 10 minutes long already, this is going to be my overall discussion for Red vs. Blue Season 10, episodes 14, 15, and 16, new and improved, Three's a Crowd, and Happy Birthday. And so, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I have about 4 pages of notes here. 1, 2, 3, 4 of these last 4 episodes. I've also branded this notebook based solely on the fact that this entire notebook it has nothing but Red vs. Blue notes from seasons 8 through 10. And I'm probably going to need another notebook when the Chorus Trilogy comes out. But with all that said, episode 14, new and improved. So basically that episode highlighted perfectly what I mentioned in the last batch, which was, at least for South's perspective, how she was going to react to finding out that Carolina was going to get both her AI and the AI that was given for Wash. And like I said, I think it's a justified anger because of the fact that Carolina had already been offered an AI to begin with, and that as the team leader, she decided to go against like the progress of her teammates for the sake of wanting to one-up and prove to Texas that she's the best, and to prove to everyone that she's the best. And she was like, okay, my teammates, I'm more important than you guys. My goals and what I want matters more than y'all. So I'm going to take this. And I feel like, again, it's really disappointing overall, but it's still justifiable that South would be angry, right? I think, as much as I love him, I think Washington is a bit of an apologist. You know what I mean? Like, he was just like, our time will come. It's like, that was your turn and it got taken from you. And I can understand not wanting to like blow a gasket over something that you're out of control, you know, you don't have any control in, but it was just kind of like a parallel opposite. Like, he was fine with it, whereas South was pissed off. And this, I think, was really before she became as AI hungry as she did get when it eventually came to her brother's death and Theta and eventually wanting to get Delta. I think this was the real test that began with, you know, because the director was originally going to give her one unless that statement that was made by Wash or even Delta was retconned, for the fact that, from my interpretation, it seemed like it was always meant that South wasn't going to have one. Because even in the classroom, she says, I don't even have one because someone didn't bring enough to share, so why am I sitting through this classroom bullshit? And the counselor looks at the director like, all according to plan. But then he was going to give one to her?
I would classify Agent South as another such failure.
Yeah, but she didn't even get an AI.
Correct. Agent South Dakota and her brother North were merely another kind of experiment. What would happen if one agent received an AI unit and the other did not?
I guess we found out how well that worked.
Precisely.
I still can't believe she killed her own brother.
She put him in a position to be killed. South rarely worked in a direct fashion.
What a bitch.
Other experiments like the Dakotas were common towards the end.
Well, I don't don't even have one because someone didn't bring enough to share, so why am I sitting through this elementary classroom bullshit?
Agents Washington and South Dakota are both due for implantation today. We have 2 AI, Ada and Iota, ready for field testing. Which one of your teammates do you think you should delay? I'll leave that up to you. Counselor, move Agents Washington and South Dakota back in the schedule and prepare Agent Carolina for surgery.
I don't know, it's just a little weird to see, like, when did the director decide, okay, now I'm actually gonna see how things pair up if she doesn't get one. Unless this was always his plan from the start, if he always knew that Carolina would eventually be egged on to the point where she would want one, that would ultimately mean that Sigma, like, the director would have had to push Carolina to push for 2 AI so it would work out to further push South as a result of that. And based on the end of the episode, it's very clear that all of these AI are kind of like in cahoots with the director, but their freelancer hosts don't know about that. So again, I just think that it's really crazy that more than anything, Carolina had 3 AI come her way and she had the opportunity for 1, she gave it up, and then 2 more came down the pipeline and she was like, I want them both now. So I don't know, that's a little unfortunate because we know what happens with South. We know what happens as a result with South, what happens as a result with Washington, what happens as a result with everything that trickles down from that, with North Dakota, with Maine and everything else, because she was blinded and consumed by pride, and she was blinded and consumed by arrogance and wanting to prove that she's the best and wanting to, you know, always, I don't know, she was just consumed by her own ambitions for validation and for authority, if you will. I did like the fact that we got a Recovery 1 reference, which was pretty cool.
Carolina just went into surgery. We don't know when she'll be out, so we're heading over to Recovery to wait for her.
Yeah, Recovery 1.
Maybe you should come with us.
And that's basically the place where the freelancers go after they get surgery for their AI. And it's a little unfortunate as a reverse reference because Washington becomes the Recovery 1 for recovering, quote unquote, recovering his freelancer buddies and their assets after their recovery beacons go off, which I don't think he ever does in fact go back and recover them. I think he does to them what he did to South, which was like destroy any trace of their existence at all. Right, he was throwing fusion coils on top of fusion coils and fire and stuff like that. And then even when you go back and you see the episode with York and Carolina, it seems there's like a scorch mark where York's body was.
Oh, come on, Wash. What are you gonna do?
Yes. Good suggestion.
You're welcome.
Dude, you guys are some cold motherfuckers.
Agent South had already shot me in the back once before, and she tried to give up Delta to the enemy. I wasn't going to wait around to see if she decided to do it again. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go blow up this dead body.
For now.
Wow. What a ringing endorsement. I am filled with confidence. Okay, all done. Delta, I called command. They wanted me to pass along condolences at South's passing.
Thank you. I will be sure to archive that sentiment.
York, are you okay? How bad is it, Dee?
York will not survive.
I'm sorry, York. Sorry I didn't listen.
So not only did Washington have to be tasked with finding the bodies of his dead friends, but he had to like make them go away. Like he had to like cremate them into like not existing, so that way there's no trace of them. There's no trace of Project Freelancer's fuck ups and their mishaps, and the AI are kept in check before the meta ever, you know, around the time the meta was becoming an issue. So, I don't know, it just sucks in that regard too. Again, it's just another fact of how Washington is such a drastically different character because he's been so hardened and so battle-torn by everything that's happened. Like, with seeing how all of his friends have been degraded over time, you know, what happened with him in Epsilon, and we see the type of character he is, right? And I even put it here, like, this is really the last of Washington's innocence as Project Freelancer continues. And, so before I jump into like the whole Washington thing, continuing on from that, Texas walks into the room. There's a little bit of like a face-off between her and South, and I think that was really a testament of showing that, yeah, in this current situation environment, Tex is the alpha, and even though she's technically the beta. Tex is the alpha, South was the beta, because I feel like if that was Carolina would not have picked up that tag. She would have been like, make me, or something like that, but South knew her place.
And 2 AI? Why is she so special? What's so special about either of them?
Pick it up.
What are you doing in here? You never come in here.
I've come for Carolina. Pick it up.
And again, that just kind of doesn't help her already because she's already emotional, she's already aggressive, and you know what I mean? I feel like in a way she probably also feels how CT felt at a certain point, which was like, I'm at the bottom of the leaderboards, I'm treated like shit, I'm treated differently than everyone, I'm not given an AI, I'm looked down upon, and you know, that slowly led to her own kind of downward spiral to where she was the person she was when we saw her, you know, as Recovery 2, and then in season 6 when her and Washington linked up again. But one interesting thing that was here was when Texas went into her locker and there was a Freelancer dog tag in there. And I don't know if that has past or present relevance. Like, I don't know if that's relevant in Project Freelancer or if it's relevant in the present with Washington and Carolina trying to find the director. And I say that because, first off, it didn't look like she knew. It didn't look like it belonged to her because she, like, looked in there. She, like, looked at it a bit and she's like, what the heck is this?
We don't know when she'll be out, so we're heading over to Recovery to wait for her.
Yeah, Recovery 1.
Maybe you should come with us. Let's go. You coming, Texas?
Yeah. Go on, York. I'm right behind you.
And then she just tucked it away and left. So, number one, who left that behind? Number two, now hear me out right here because I'm going to give you my thought process for what I thought at the time and then slowly evolving it to what I think now. So, when I saw that she put that dog tag on, I'm like, okay, that's odd. We've never seen that before. And then, you know, the Reds and Blues end up in Valhalla and they're like, okay, go search Blue Base, go search Red Base for clues. And I thought to myself, I'm like, Tex's body's in Blue Base. And if Tex's body's in Blue Base, maybe throughout everything that's happened in this series, she still has that dog tag on her. And maybe that dog tag has information on Project Freelancer, on the director, because they're trying to find as much information as they can on the director's whereabouts. And maybe that's how Tex will be able to somehow give closure to finding where the director is if that dog tag's on her person. However, a couple of things are kind of throw that theory out of whack. First off, the body of Texas that we see in Project Freelancer is the same body, I'm assuming, of Tex that we see in season 1 of Red vs. Blue, where she dies. After which, after she dies, her body is buried. So the same body that she has when she puts the dog tag away is not the same body that we see her in, you know, by the time her body shows up in Valhalla, because it was during Blood Gulch Chronicles, I think it was like season 2 or season 3, where like the red team lost, and as a surrender plea, Sarge had to build a body for Tex and for Church, and that's basically a new body. So I don't think so that's why I now think that dog tag will be more present in the past. And I was going along with this for a while because when we see the Reds and Blues again in this batch, they talk about like Carolina mentions, oh, what have you found, Wash?
All right, what have you got?
Not much. A few shell casings, a dog tag.
I was talking to Church.
Wash mentions that he found a dog tag, so I was like, oh, maybe that's the same dog tag, because I didn't pick that up during my reaction, but I found out about that afterwards. But then he also says that Blue Base was swept clean, so there's no evidence, like Tex's body's gone. Basically everything, I think, after season 8, like UNSC or whatever went there and took her body. So I think that dog tag is going to have some sort of relevance in the past. Maybe it's information of like what the director is doing, because Tex goes on to lead the break-in to free Alpha. So maybe that has information, but I don't know who would have left that behind or why that would be there of all places. So that's the only thing I can think of. I think that might be the information that allows Carol, that basically influences Tex to change her mind, to kind of link up with all of the other freelancers, to overthrow Project Freelancer, to free Alpha, and to kind of like set things right and confront the director. And that's in turn is going to lead to how everything is going to kind of go off for everyone going their separate way, the AI going their separate way, and how Blood Gulch Chronicles starts. So, with all of that, we get into the last of Washington's innocence. Have you seen this man's locker? Like, he is so precious. He's so innocent. Like, he has, like, an apple, a banana, some cans with bendy straws in them, cat pictures, a rubber duck, a pink towel, a skateboard. Like, he is just, like, a sporty kid at heart. You know, he's the ragtag runt of the litter, caboose of Project Freelancer before Epsilon. And, you know, he has a gullible nature. He has a naive personality, you know, with how he talks to Delta and how, you know, even just things that we learned about him as the series continued.
Everyone else is in there, though. Full profile.
Washington used to wet the bed. I'm gonna go tell the other guys. They off to in such a hurry.
Found the leader. He's hiding out in Bone Valley.
We're going all the way over there? After what happened to Georgia?
Would someone please tell me what happened to Georgia?
Dudes, you do not want to know.
I really do, though.
What's an alpha?
Wash? Are you eating inside your helmet?
Maybe. Delta said they got the helmet waste disposal out of Beta. That would make my eating more efficient.
And you believe that? Maybe he is getting more personable. The other side effects were way worse.
What other side effects?
You know, bleeding from the eyes, ringing ears, inverted penis.
Inverted what?
Dude, I'm just fucking with you, okay? Couple of headaches. That's it.
So what's different about Maine then?
And it just sucks. Again, like, I think this season in particular did a really great job. You know, whether it's, I don't want to end up like Georgia, or, you know, just overall Washington's demeanor as Project Freelancer has gone on. We've seen snippets in this season in particular, especially, you know, like his deal with cars and stuff like that. The fact that he listens to whatever Delta tells him, and it's becomes the butt of the joke, and, you know, everything else in between. It paints a more painful picture. By the time I realized to myself how I felt about Wash when I first got introduced to him back during, what was it, Relocated or Recovery 1, and, you know, Season 6, I didn't have any of this context of understanding. I just was like, wow, has this guy always been a hard ass? But it's like, no, it's just, he's become a product of his environment. He's been a product of the director and of Project Freelancer, and it's great to at least know and see that in moments like when Carolina is being hard on the Reds and Blues, he's defending them. Because I think, in a way, the Reds and Blues remind him of who he used to be before Project Freelancer went to shit. You know, like, he's kind of like, there's like a bit of him in every single one of these characters. Mainly like Griff and Caboose, I would say. Not to say that he's like super fucking lazy like Griff is, but Griff is kind of laid back. Griff doesn't take things too seriously, whereas Washington does, but not as much as someone like Carolina, for example. And in terms of Caboose, he's just a lovable idiot in his own right when he's around his teammates, you know, when he's around Project Freelancer. So, I don't know. I just think it makes things a lot more painful to the fact that Epsilon is now created, and the next time we see Wash, before he gets that implant in the back of his head, that's going to be the last. That's Wash before he dies, right? The Washington that we know and love as a Project Freelancer dies when Epsilon is born. And like I said, it's just a little upsetting and depressing and disappointing in a way to kind of see how everything came together, because these characters were so great, and I kind of ham it up every week because it's like it's only further reinforced with every batch that I watch. And this week especially, it hit deep for Carolina. You know, it hit deep especially for York when you see him resting for days, not leaving Carolina's side until she's okay. You got the moments between between Tex and North, having a bit of a heart-to-heart, showing some humanity in her, that just because she's an AI, it's not like she doesn't know how to feel, she doesn't know how to, she doesn't know how to be human, and that's another reason why I feel like she eventually does achieve metastability, because she's more human here than ever, you know what I mean? So yeah, so really quick before we jump into transitioning from the Project Freelancer stuff to the Valhalla stuff, I definitely want to say, first and foremost, especially to those of you who sit through and watch all of these discussions, however long they might be, however long of time it might take you if you watch it in pieces or if you watch the whole thing at once, I definitely want to say that I appreciate more than anything your guys' input. I read as many comments as I can, between weeks or whenever comments come through. I read every single thing on my channel. Unfortunately, I'm not able to kind of acknowledge or let people know that I am. Sometimes I'll like the comment, I'll give it a heart. I will be able to respond to it if it's, if I don't have to write out like a freaking book responding to what they say, because I can't really have conversations, if you will, in my comment section. But one thing that I do want to let you guys know is, number one, I read all the comments, and number two, if comments are thought-provoking enough, I want to address them directly, like in the form of this video. So in this video in particular, there are 2 comments that I read that really changed a bit of my line of thinking, or at least did a really good job at clarifying what I actually meant, or giving me a little bit more perspective than what I'm able to do by myself in my room with my notebooks and rewatching Red vs. Blue. So I definitely want to let you guys know that, like, I appreciate anything and everything that you guys send my way, especially if it's just, hey, I enjoy the videos, keep up the good work, or, I love that you love Red vs. Blue as much as I do, and that, you give it so much dedication and attention and the respect that it deserves. And even for people who kind of go out of their way, especially to kind of inform me on things, to kind of give me a better understanding as how I go. I read everything, and I want these kind of showcases that I do to represent that. So the first comment that I want to showcase is from a user by the name of Kibatu. I think that's how you say his name. And it was because I couldn't, for the life of me, figure out the word to best describe how I felt about Carolina in the last batch of episodes, when it was revealed that she was going ahead and taking the 2 AI that were meant for her teammates. I was saying things along the lines of, I'm so pissed off, I'm angry, I'm mad at her, how could she do that? And Kibatu kind of illustrated in a really well thought out comment of what it really meant. Like, I was kind of rambling ad nauseum, I didn't really have the right word for it, and he kind of clarified it in a way that I was like, holy shit, this guy's like a million times smarter than me, because I don't know what the hell I'm trying to say, and it's my damn video. So I definitely want to pull that up here, read it word for word. This is a comment that I gave a thumbs up to, and I gave a heart mention in the last discussion, and I'll put it on screen if you guys haven't seen it yet. But he basically highlights the point where I'm rambling at, like, being upset at Carolina, and he says, it's almost like when someone you know very well does something stupid, i.e. you found out they're doing drugs because of their issues or something similar. You want to be angry at them by quite a large margin, but you understand what they're going through and hope something for them works out, and not just stay that path where it could get worse. So I feel it's justifiable to be angry at Carolina for how she reacted, but you also understand how it got there and only want her to try and better herself, which is something that I also mentioned. I said that, I wouldn't be I'm mad and upset at her at this right now, but I don't want her to kind of go throughout life without learning from those mistakes. And it was the mention of, York coming back through his data logs and talking to her about he wished she just let go. He wished she was able to just kind of live life and let go of things like that, and to just be a freer, more happier person instead of being tied down to these obligations and these ridiculous standards that are set for her that kind of slowly eat away at her. So in a way, I was upset at her, but I felt that because she survived Project Freelancer and she's in the same situation as Washington, it would give her a sense of redemption, if you will. So that's something that I definitely kind of spoke on during that batch. The word to put here is disappointed. Carolina did something bad, really bad, and thus you're disappointed in her, but you're still willing to like her and see her through to her good times when she bounces back and kicks some more ass than ever. I can't wait to see your journey to the end of the season. It's gonna be so good. So again, like I said, I just wanted to kind of highlight and showcase that comment in particular, because in turn it did highlight a lot of things that I was feeling, but I just didn't really know how to put into words. And the second comment actually works out really well for changing my stance on what I thought Ada, and Iota should have been given for. So in the discussion that I did last week, I said Ada, which is the fear of the Alpha, was going to go to Washington, and happiness was going to, or Iota, which is happiness, was going to go to South. I have now since revoked that stance and have switched it around to where Washington, like I mentioned here, rubber duck, cat pictures, skateboard, bendy straws, naive and gullible personality. He's a kid at heart, you know what I mean? Like, he's the ragtag runt of the litter, and if anything, Washington deserves, at that point, to at least maintain his happiness, which is something that didn't end up happening with Epsilon. So it kind of reinforced a little bit more why I think Wash should have gotten Iota, but more importantly, for this comment that I'm gonna refer to here, this was by Taneth, Taneth, was that it probably does in a way make sense for South to have been paired with Fear. And this comment here reads, first time we saw South, she was refusing to activate her motion trackers because it takes too long. She jumped into a situation she was unprepared for, which resulted in it going south.
God damn it, Barb!
And a little fear probably would have prevented that. And I am in complete agreement with that. I think South's biggest issue is that she's so gung-ho. She has nothing to lose. She has nothing to fear. And sometimes fear prevents us from doing stupid shit or stuff that we feel like will backfire. You know, fear in a way it's not just a way of showing that we're afraid of things, but it holds us back for our own safety. You know what I mean? And I completely agreed with that. I think, you know, York was expressing a little bit more fear of her being caught and fear of her getting in trouble because he wasn't able to protect her. But more so, you know, she was just, even when she was in the building, she was like, not now, just trust me. Like, and he was saying, set your trackers. Even when the thing was in the, you know, even when the data was loading for her to get, set your trackers. And she just didn't want to. She had no fear in her heart that anything was going to go wrong until it did. And then she got demoted. And then she gets mad because she can't look inward and understand, what did I do wrong? So, yeah, I am in complete alignment with, even the director could probably foresee and perceive that that would be the best course of action. Give her a little fear so that way she's not so reckless to do shit and thinking that there's going to be no consequences. So those two comments were ones that were really thought-provoking for me, ones that I wanted to showcase and highlight, especially to let you guys know that I do read all of your comments, and for the ones that are big enough to kind of give me a sense of perspective, you know, for what I previously say in my videos, I want to showcase and talk about those as well. So again, quick shout out again to Kibatu, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and Taneth for your inquiries, for your comments, and for your insight. I definitely appreciate it. It helps out overall, like I said, and I don't know, it kind of just keeps me on track with my way of thinking, just so I'm not completely ignorant to other perspectives of this show. So again, I liked it. I think it makes a lot of sense for both me being disappointed in Carolina and for South getting fear instead of happiness, because yeah, she deserves to be happy, but you know, she'll never be happy if she's this constant reckless individual who always gets in trouble because she doesn't learn from her mistakes. So with all that said, shout out to the comments again. I appreciate it. I appreciate all of you guys, especially who just listen to me ramble about that alone for 10 minutes. But jumping back into the episode, we go back to Valhalla, man. And this gave me so many flashbacks, so many throwback moments from Blood Ghost Chronicles to Season 7. It was great.
This is the awesome new base? Looks the same as the shitty old base to me. Oh, you're gonna love it here. You know, it's like our home away from home that we can't ever get away from. So let me get this straight. It's just two bases in the middle of a box canyon.
No, but I mean, even if we were to pull out today, and they were to come take our base, they would have two bases in the middle of a box canyon.
Oh no, fire! That's bad! Bad fire! Bad fire, go away! Oh god, now I'm burning. That's much worse than other things burning! Oh god, why does it keep chasing me? Okay, let's try that again. But with less fire on me this time.
And there was a moment during my reaction that I think a few people, based on the comments that I read, a few people were a little bit misinterpretive of, because I like, it was when Church was going through the computer program in the ship, and he mentioned, oh, it was an old friend of mine. She's trying to help me out as best she can.
Oh, not yet. But the onboard computer program's an old friend of mine. She's doing her best to help me out.
Good.
Wait.
Keep it up.
Wait, is Phyllis he's talking about? And I said Phyllis. And everyone was like, no, not Phyllis, Sheila. But technically, that is Phyllis. She just got a name change from when Church kind of, quote unquote, went back in time and was like causing all of the mistakes and issues that led him to get killed, you know, multiple times throughout Blood Gulch Chronicles. And originally, the tank's name was Phyllis, which is the Freelancer Integrated Logistics and Security System. So that was her first name, and then Church was like, Phyllis, you mean Sheila? And then it reverted her name to Sheila. So I just called her Phyllis based on her original origin. Like, yeah, it's Phyllis, obviously, from Blood Gulch, but that's the reason why I called her Phyllis, because Phyllis and Sheila, it's interchangeable. But yeah, I know that that one is Sheila because it transferred from the tank to the ship, whereas every other Phyllis is only Phyllis and not Sheila. So that's the only kind of bit of confusion that I feel like I gave to the viewers, that I just wanted to clarify and bring up from there. Moving on from there, we go to the Recovery 1 surgery room, where we see Carolina get implanted with both of the AI implantations in the back of her head. So she has Ada and Iota, she's recovering, and we see a few freelancers in there kind of be there for support, one of which was Wyoming, before he eventually became the asshole that we knew him as by the time Blood Gulch Chronicles came around. And I don't know, he seems like an older gentleman. He seems a lot older than these other, like, youngins, you know what I mean? I don't know how old Maine is, but I assume Maine and Wyoming are a lot older than these youngins, you know what I mean? Like Washington and Carolina and the twins even, they seem just like a lot younger, maybe like in their 20s, whereas Wyoming, I think based on his mustache and accent alone, seems like he's a lot older, maybe like in his 30s or something. So maybe he didn't mesh as well with the younger crowd, especially when, you know, they're older and stuff like that and everyone's just at each other's throats. So I think that's really cool that we get to at least see that he was by her side. He obviously seemed to care. He wasn't a complete asshole back then, and that was great. Maine's headaches are worsening. Maine's headaches are worsening, and I don't know if he's going to become the meta before Project Freelancer ends or afterwards. Because I don't know immediately when the meta starts going on this rampage by the time Season 6 rolls around, because it's like, well, what was the meta up to the last 6 seasons before he started becoming an issue with the chairman and the director and, you know, the recovery units and all that kind of stuff with the other AI. So I don't know if he becomes the meta before or after they disband, you know, before everyone goes AWOL for the project. But his headaches are worsening, and it's so fucked up because Sigma is in control of him. Sigma is the one who communicates. Sigma is the one who goes through all the communications, and all fucking Maine can do is hold his head in pain because he's having these severe throbbing headaches. And I'm thinking, I don't know if this is like theory based or if this is on the right track here. But first and foremost, I'm surprised no one is like communicating with Sigma and being like, hey Sigma, what's up with your host? It might be, you might be more of a byproduct to his issue than you might think. Let's pull you for a bit and see if it, like, it doesn't seem like anyone even thought of that. Like, maybe it's his AI. Like, let's get rid of that so he can actually, so Maine can actually, like, settle and be okay, even if he can't communicate. It's just the fact of, like, his well-being is at stake here. No one knows what the issue is, and no one's asking questions. No one's asking Sigma, who is the communication pathway to Maine, which is understandable because Sigma just wants a vessel. Sigma wants a host, and Maine at this point is kind of like drowning in his own helmet, if you will, because no one's around to help him, and he's not able to signal or let people know what's going on. And I think he's having these severe headaches because Sigma's getting smarter. And it reminds me of the prospect of rampancy. It reminds me of the idea of what rampancy really is, which for full AI, and in this case, I would still apply it to fragments, but not in the same way, which is full AI basically think themselves to death. They think so rapidly and at such an accelerated level that they're not able to kind of break from that. And I think what's happening, and just try to understand this for how I say it, but I think Sigma is thinking himself to Main's death. I think Sigma is being so fascinated with the thought process and the supercomputer analyzation of metastability, of how AI are created, of being around during the process of Epsilon's birth, and all of that computing knowledge and intelligence, he's processing it, and as a byproduct, it's transferring to Main as well, and Main can't handle that. I think that's what's happening. I think it's like a rampancy bypass. It's like everything that would normally cause an AI to go crazy is transferring to Main, which basically means Main's gonna die, like mentally die, and Sigma's gonna take over for the meta by the time everything happens, by the end of Project Freelancer. At least that's my interpretation of it. It seems likely that that's what's happening because Main has like no agency by the time you see him when he's referred to as the meta, in season 6, season 8 and stuff like that, in season 7. They don't even call him Main anymore. They call him the meta. So I think Main does die long before we see him in season 6, and Sigma is basically the new host. And as we get all these other AI, they become the hive mind collective that is the meta. So again, I just kind of wanted to mention that and give my take on Main's headaches as a whole. It's obviously the worst is coming to fruition. It's very sad to see because Main's been a badass this entire time. He's gotten his revenge. He's been side by side with his teammates. He's a fucking ride or die dude. And unfortunately, Carolina's choices, though not her, basically not, it wasn't her, she didn't want this to happen. She didn't know it could happen, but that indirectly caused things to happen to Main, which is really sad to see, especially since them two in particular were so close, especially on the battlefield. From that, we have Washington's AI expectations, right? Everyone's telling him, this is what's going to happen when you first get your AI. You're going to have some light ringing in the ears. They're going to think what you think. You're going to think what they think. There are going to be times where you're not going to be able to fall asleep. You'll get minor headaches. And he's like preparing himself for like the minimal discomfort. And I feel like the second Epsilon goes into his head, he's just going to he's going to die. Like, and I mean that figuratively, like the Washington we know dies when Epsilon is born. That's the best way to put it. And the Washington that we know after the fact, when things kind of went crazy and he was very nervous about not wanting to have another AI in him because he didn't want them to know what he knew, and he felt like everyone was on his back and was watching him closely with things. And ironically, that's kind of how it worked out that he became Recovery 1 and all that other stuff. I think the expectations versus reality is also really sad to see because it's like he's so innocent and he's willing to trust and believe his friends, and he's not going to know he's going to be hit like a truck by the time that rolls around. And Carolina wakes up, 3 minds in her mind, Ada, Iota, and she wants to fight, which is like, you just woke up, you already want to pop off, and things don't end up working out for her as time goes on, as we see. So I have no idea how long I've been recording, but I feel like it took me forever to get through the last episode. But we're gonna be starting now, episode 15, the biggest cock tease of Red versus Blue history, the grudge match I've been looking forward to since both of them came into the picture, Tex and Carolina. I think I've been saying since like season 9 or even season 8, like who would win in a fight between these two. And they were on the cusp. I feel like they tease this just as much as they tease how many times they want, to show off that they've killed Washington, only for him to still survive and be alive in the next, couple of episodes. But yeah, this was the biggest cock tease I've ever experienced in Red vs. Blue so far. I was so looking forward to this match, it wasn't even funny. I knew that there would be, really bad repercussions for it, especially because it's Texas. And especially since the director didn't know, going up against Carolina, who has 2 AI just recently implanted, and I don't know what the hell's gonna happen. Like, Washington definitely said it the best.
Anyone want to bet that one of them gets killed?
Are you kidding? I'm hoping one of us doesn't get killed just by watching.
I also like the reference that they did with York to Carolina, giving her advice on how to deal with the AI going up against Texas, because he basically did that similarly. He gave advice to York and Maine when the 3 of them were going up against Texas when she first came into the show, you know, when she was first introduced to them during their sparring matches. So I kind of liked that comparison of seeing that again.
Okay, just pick a piece of equipment you know how to use already. Or just grab everything and anything. That works too, I guess. Okay, guys. This one should be easy. So let's just play it by the book. Maine, how about you flank left and... Or you could just charge in and get immobilized first. Okay, Wyoming, let's stick together and... What's the story? Am I the only one on this team that knows how to talk?
I don't think talking's your problem.
Maine! Maine! Look, I'm gonna move left. You go. Or you just run out, do whatever you want, and then get killed. Ready? Break. Good job, everybody.
And among everything, too, like, I think this scene also shows how much Sigma does of his own volition, because I think the director does let Sigma get away with a lot of stuff. We saw by the end of this batch of episodes, Sigma, Gamma, and Omega all, you know, being directed by the director, no pun intended there, but, like, there are some things that are allowed by the director that these AI do, and then there are some things that they do that the director doesn't know about, but I feel like if he even knew about it, I don't know. I feel like the director would have fucking I feel like he would have straight up deleted Sigma if he knew that Sigma was the reason that his wife was going up against Carolina, to the point where he was like so worried. He was like, no, Allison. And the second the director showed up in the room, Sigma dipped. He was like, fuck that, I'm out of here. When he had a front row seat to the fight too. He wanted to know what was gonna happen.
What the hell is going on here? No matches have been authorized for... No, Allison!
You know, the Beta AI and Omega going up against the best Freelancer with Eta and Iota, and, you know, ultimately just wanting to see those results. Again, like, Sigma has an ambition that I'm slowly trying to put together, and I have, like, a really, like, out there theory for this at the end, especially with how he kind of is around for Epsilon's birth, but I'll get to that a little bit later. But another thing too that I thought was interesting was the quote that Carolina and Tex both gave.
Good luck, lady.
Thanks. I won't need it.
And that's essentially due to the fact that ultimately in this fight, it's not a matter of like winning or losing. It's pride. Like, both of their prides are on the line, and it's interesting how they both look and view luck overall, because, you know, I feel like if you give luck to somebody, it's like, good luck, because they'll need it, because they themselves aren't enough. So them two, they just revoke it immediately. And it's also based on a little bit of references here and there of hearing good luck being given to these characters, you know, over the course of Project Freelancer. So Tex versus Carolina, pride is on the line, and Allison, a name of pure anguish. Just hearing, and I was putting it together in my mind during the reaction, but just seeing what was happening based on her name alone being uttered kind of really just shut me down to like really commentate anything on it. But the director is literally the alpha, okay? He's the walking, talking, flesh and bone alpha to these AI, right? So you got the real alpha, the director, walking into the room, and he, like, Allison means so much to him, and that level of anguish in his voice of like, no, Allison, she's gonna get hurt, she's gonna get killed again, you know what I mean? Like, that permeated to the AI, just hearing her name, because he is the alpha and they are fragments of the alpha. They are all individual qualities of the director. So if he hurts from hearing Allison, it's gonna hurt Alpha, and it's gonna hurt the fragment, and the fragments, that pain in turn is gonna transfer to the Freelancer host, and that's exactly what happened.
No, Allison!
affected the sarcophagus. It even affected the engineer, which was a pretty fucking cool reveal to see that, because I've been asking since season 9, like, what the hell's in that box? How is it used for Project Freelancer? Is it how the AI are created? Is it needed for any type of creation for the AI? And in turn it is, and I'll definitely get to that at a point too. But I don't know if it was the name of Allison or because all of these AI were going crazy, that this thing that kind of helps them come into life was also being affected in a way. I don't really know how it affected the engineer in particular, but I thought that was pretty crazy in of itself too. The guttural screams, the fucking guttural screams of Jen Brown as Carolina, and the roaring noise of Maine, just like can't take his helmet off, screaming in pain. He's already having mental like issues with his own headaches. And like the only person that wasn't affected in that room was Washington, because he doesn't have an AI. You know, it seemed like Tex was affected a little bit, not initially, but like she got up off the floor too. So I don't know if she was affected because she is also an AI, a byproduct of the alpha. So I would assume she would also still be affected by whatever he's affected by. But she is Allison. I don't know if she knows that. Because she is a byproduct of the alpha, but she is based on the memories of Allison. Does she know she's the director's wife in AI form? Because he even like yells her name, no, Allison. So like just that name alone, I'd be like, who the fuck is Allison? What are you talking about? You know, I mean, I know now, like, I know in, like, Out of Mind, for example, you know, I know, like, in Out of Mind, for example, when, like, when Tex sees York again, she's like, you were never a really good liar, York, and she says, oh, I haven't seen, you know, hey, Allison, it's been a while, and she's like, no one's called me Allison in a really long time.
All right, freeze.
Oh, sorry, officer. I, lost my keys to my shop here, and I was trying to figure out a way to, you know,
You never were a very good liar, York.
York? I haven't been called York in a really long time. Hello, Allison.
I haven't been called Allison in a really long time.
So, by that point, she knew who she was, but did she know who she was in that moment? Like, up to this point, does she know who she is? Like, does she know the identity of herself as the director's deceased wife in computer form? I don't know. That's something to think about. I just thought about that right on the spot. Because if that was the case, and if she knew that, and if he let her know that, she wouldn't throw herself into a situation like that and like cause him all this turmoil and stress. So I don't know. So during the batch 2, I was really upset by how the director responded to everything, right? Because in actuality, in reality, that all happened because of him. He made the alpha, he made these fragments, he called out her name, that pain reverberated to the AI, affecting Carolina the most, and he's just like, nah, we're good. Let her deal with that. That's her choice. Even though she didn't fucking know that was gonna happen. That happened, honestly, that happened because of you. Because you said Allison, and it affected these AI that you've been creating that are based on you. So if it hurts you, it's gonna hurt them, and in turn hurt their hosts. So I was really upset by that because he just like was incredibly dismissive of it. And I feel like he's incredibly dismissive of a lot of things.
Director, we should sedate Carolina immediately. We have no idea how much damage 2 AI could...
No, she made her decision. Let her be. You are all dismissed.
And from the previous batch that I watched where he just allowed Carolina to get to AI, there was a comment that was given that gave a really great breakdown of the director, his mentality, who he is in essence, And it gave me a lot more of a perspective to understand why the director does what he does, despite the fact that there's a lot of things about him that I really just don't agree with in terms of his methods, not just his methods, but his reaction to those methods. And there's just there's just something missing there with him, and I'm going to explain this. But this is the third comment that I wanted to showcase, that one of the comments that was really thought-provoking, insightful, gave me a lot to think about, and I wanted to kind of bring that to you guys' attention and kind of talk about it as a whole. So this comment comes from Revail, I think that I'm saying that right, Rivael. And this is a comment that was based on the director. I really liked it. I wanted to showcase it and kind of give, not counterpoints, but just this understanding of the director versus why I feel the way I did about being upset with him. So he said, the director let that shit fly because resourcefulness, creativity, and ingenuity are his ideals. Sigma and Gamma both came from his mind. Just like Alpha always agreed with Delta, the director will always agree with creativity and resourcefulness because those are the traits that he prides himself on having and admires/encourages in others. Case in point, Carolina wants 2 AI. From his perspective, she will either learn her lesson or prove him wrong. He looks forward to either. Honestly, I think the director knows what Sigma is trying to do and letting him do it anyway. The director is a scientist. His goal is to study AI, and if one of his fragments had succeeded in becoming metastable, not only will he have proven that theory correct, he would have also gained access to an AI of a higher caliber. Now, I don't know if this is supposed to just be understood when it comes to people in this field of work, right? Researchers, scientists, men of science, women of science, whatever the case might be. But I think more so than not, 9 times out of 10, you usually lack any sort of guilt or empathy, lack of compassion or concern, and are almost inhumane or emotionless when it comes to tough decisions being made for the sake of science, for the sake of, the continuity of man, and so on and so forth. Scientists, especially some of them, probably do what others are unwilling to do because there's that moral gray area there, right? That's the whole reason why the chairman of the UNSC is going after the director, because the director is willing to do what others won't do because of how they feel, because how it's judged upon, because how it makes you look like a monster. And on top of the fact that he's always very dismissive of his actions and doesn't really own up to any of it because there's a greater goal at risk here. Or rather, there's something greater to be gained than simply saying, I'm sorry, I'll learn from my mistakes, I won't do it again. And personally, that's where my ideals butt heads with the director. Like, I can understand everything that you just presented here, and it's crystal clear why the director is doing it, but it's also a reason why I see it as such an issue where I get upset when he does stuff like this, because I would never be able to make, I would never be able to do what he does. I think that's the best way of putting it. It's a confliction of ideologies between us, and despite the fact that he is the source of my favorite character, I couldn't ever picture Alpha or even, Epsilon or Blood Gulch Chronicles Church doing something in a non-sarcastic way that would hurt other people simply because there's something to be gained. I have too much good in me to ever want to do something that would be a bonus. It would be a score for mankind, but it would be at the cost of my own humanity, which kind of defeats the purpose of fighting for humanity if you yourself have no humanity at all or anymore because of everything you're doing for it. I don't know. That was a very thought-provoking comment, Revail. I definitely understand more so than ever the fact that the director is a man of science, and with that type of practice, there are those type of mindsets that come into play, which is, hey, I'm doing whatever it takes, and I don't care what it takes to do it. I don't care who I hurt, because at the end of the day, we either win or we die. And again, this kind of came into the discussion during the time of season 6, where I was like, why is everyone so upset about the director? He said, like, you know what I mean? And I was kind of on the director's side at one point, and then people were like, well, yeah, but like, if you're claiming to fight for humanity, you know, you'd want to do that with as much humanity intact in you as possible. But if you're casting away hundreds of, dozens of lives and hurting and causing more harm than good to achieve a result, maybe you don't deserve to live at all. You know what I mean? That's what it means to be human. So, I just thought that was a really good point to have a conversation around, regarding the director, what he prides himself on, why he's willing to do what he does because he's a man of science. And sometimes you have to cast away your emotions in order to get results. And I just think that that's something that I could never do. And that's why it conflicts with me so much, because I've liked everything up until this point, and now it's gotten to a point where I'm like, okay, I can kind of see where the chairman's coming from, and I can kind of see why the director, I can also see his perspective. So it's I like that it's not simply black and white. I love that there's a lot of shades of gray in there that kind of lead you to want to help and want to be on both sides. You know what I mean? I want what's best for the director. I want him to be able to find metastability, to be able to get his wife back the best he can, to be able to help humanity and to serve as best as he can, because he never got to serve in the war. But at the same time, I don't want him to kill off all of these great characters who have really good things going for them, good people who just want to help and be useful. And I don't want them to be felt like they're tools just because the director's a scientist and we just have to accept the fact that he has no emotions, he has no humanity because he's a man of science. I don't know. I'm rambling at this point, but I don't know. I just wanted to kind of touch base on that because I thought that was a very, 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 very thought-provoking comment that I just wanted to give my take on, because I feel like I am a bit more on the emotional side of reacting to certain things like this, and not as much really being able to stop and look at the situation in a way that can give me a better insight to the director's mind. But yeah, it's just the difference of ideals between me and the director. You know, me as a viewer, the director as a character, and why I feel like at the end of the day, it's just really not worth it for him to do all of this just to get results if it means hurting people. So from there, another thing that was showcased in this batch was Tex's willpower over Omega's influence. So she's also mentioned for as long as she's been around. I think even as early as Blood Gulch, that Omega was one of the more difficult AI that was paired with her. He had the ability to jump bodies similar, that was something that he inherited from the Alpha, and he was able to jump bodies, but he always found his way back to Tex because Tex is the best, and, the most aggressive AI with the most powerful Freelancer, just it's an unstoppable force for the most part. And it seems like even now, his influence seems a lot more sinister than it was. I think it was always the same, but Blood Gulch Chronicles definitely dumbed it down a lot with O'Malley, because he almost seemed like a comedic villain, right? Blood Gulch Chronicles, for the most part, was like a sitcom in a way. It was all they needed was like a laughing audience, like soundboard, and it would have literally been the closest thing to a sitcom. And I feel like Omega was really downplayed because of that, because who he linked with, like with the back and forth of him and Doc, and just I don't know, just his manners was like, oh, Oblivion is at hand. Like, he just seems like an over the top villain. Whereas in Project Freelancer, of these moments that we're seeing where he's egging Tex to literally kill Carolina in that very moment, like, do it, enter, do it now, I want you to. We both want it.
Yes, enter, do it, win. No, want to, do it.
It just seems like he is a bigger handful than I could have ever thought. You know what I mean? Especially for someone like Texas, who is a badass, and she doesn't let anyone walk over her. She doesn't let anyone tell her what to do. Omega had that much of a grip around her. But her willpower, it seemed, allowed her to persevere through that. I don't know if that was the same case with CT. Because Omega seems very he's got a lot of bloodlust. He wanted her to kill Carolina, and maybe he was the influence that led Tex to kill CT, or to be as aggressive with her as he was during that moment. Because she's pulled him and hasn't used him for days ever since the matchup with Carolina. But I wonder if he was around before that. I just really want to know if Omega was with her during that CT fight, because it would put into perspective why she was so aggressive. And why Carolina was like, I don't know what's gotten into you. Omega has gotten into her, you know? So I don't know. I just think that that's a very interesting way to look at Omega and how much influence he had over Tex and how that lasted for so long until Blood Gulch Chronicles came around. And again, it's just further credit to the timeline and to the writing and to Bernie for how he just laid the fucking land. How everything, it's like a fucking puzzle. It's like a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle and everything just fits perfectly. Yeah, you got some inconsistencies here and there, like with the retcons of like that Out of Mind episode, but that pales in comparison to how beautiful the timeline works, how all of these moments and all of these sequence of events play out so well because this is a prequel. So a prequel does a really great job, I think, at reinforcing the already established story if done in a great way. And I think for what I've gotten so far of seasons 9, especially seasons 10, it's done a great job. It's given more definition to the characters that we get to see one-offs of, like York and Out of Mind, and makes us care about them so much more. So in retrospect, those moments are so much more painful because we know the characters and who they are by the time by the time their moments have come and gone. I'm rambling at this point, but I just thought it was really great to get a bit of Omega that translates really well when we see him in the Blood Gulch timeline. So switching back to the second episode again for the Valhalla scenes, one thing that kind of went over my head because during my reaction, I was so beside myself with over-the-top excitement and like just being so at peace and so happy for the return of not only Donut, who we haven't seen for like 3 seasons. We haven't seen him since the season 7 finale when Washington shot both Donut and Lopez, right? And then it was late during season 9 that I saw the, ending recovery mode, all units, and Donut was actually still alive. So I'm like, Donut's alive. Why isn't he back in the picture? And then we got to see Doc again, which we haven't seen Doc since the season 8 finale, when like everything's kind of goes back to the way it was. And he's kind of like a pacifist. He doesn't stick around for too long. He's only around when he's needed. And, like seeing both Doc and Donut was such a sight for sore eyes. They are just as integral. Well, obviously Donut, because he's on Red Team, right? And he's super funny. He's like the comedic relief. He's overly enthusiastic about like what he says, and everything comes off as a sexual joke to him, or to the viewers rather, and to like Red Team and stuff like that. And it was so great to see both of them. And I kind of like was lost in the conversation of things. I didn't even realize it, but they used the corpse of Lopez for the scarecrow that they had like over the crops and stuff like that. So I'm almost positive Lopez backed himself up on a file. I don't know if or when he's going to come back into the picture. I'm assuming at this point, if he doesn't somehow show up in these last few episodes, we'll see him during the Chorus trilogy. That's at least what I'm expecting. I can't expect Lopez to be gone forever as well. Just because like, they always do these fake outs, but I think the main cast, like the main Reds, the main Blues, and like the set pieces of all of that, Doc and Lopez in particular, because they're not designated to a specific team. I really think they are what make up the core Red versus Blue experience, even though we're getting all this cool Project Freelancer stuff with all these new characters and AI and stuff like that. But it was super cool. Apparently Doc and Donut live together, so is that like they're living together, or they're just in the same house together? Because Donut could have always just gone back to his base, and Doc is just was only there to, I think, like tend to his wounds and stuff like that, nurse him back to health, if you will. But like, if they're like living together, then like, who wears the pants in that relationship? Number one. Number two, the jokes immediately start coming out. Like with the banana bread, it's like, oh, I hope you like nuts. And then he's like, oh, Donut nailed Lopez to a board with nails, just wanting to clarify that. He's like, I just had to ask. So they're already quick at work with Donut back on the scene with his casual, awesome self, enthusiastic self at that. And, again, I don't know if the backup of Lopez is going to be present during during the Chorus trilogy when that starts, or if in fact, similarly to what they did with Doc and Donut, they like weaseled them in there in the last couple of batches. So hopefully I'm just going to keep my fingers crossed, because like I don't know, it's been so long, I don't even remember. So yeah, it was also season 7 for Lopez too, but it feels so much longer because season 8, 9, and 10 have been really long and very expansive, especially when it comes to like all the stuff that I'm taking in all at the same time. It feels a lot longer that we've gone on without him. So from that, another thing that I wanted to mention, and there are so many more parallels coming out with every batch, I think, with Carolina in particular. But I noticed something because I went back and I rewatched the last couple of batches. There's another parallel that I noticed between Carolina and York that parallels that of Jean and, again, Pyrrha, like another Pyrrha parallel to Carolina, because they're both voiced by Jen Brown, and they're both characters off of, from the company, from the Rooster Teeth company and stuff like that, and they both have a lot of similarities and a lot of differences that kind of make up their genetic makeup, if you will, for both what transitioned from Carolina to Pyrrha when Ruby was being conceptualized. So I put here, there's 3 different key points here, but I put here, York loves Carolina, who is too distracted by Texas to reciprocate. The same way that Pyrrha loves Jean, who was too distracted by Weiss to reciprocate. Which in turn meant that the reciprocate, the lover, the unrequited love of York and Pyrrha was a missed opportunity and a missed window of opportunity, because York and Pyrrha both ended up dying. I don't know if Carolina ever knew how York felt. I don't know if they acted on those feelings when they were alive, but I interpreted Carolina seeing those logs from York of like, that's when she found out how York felt about her, and he's dead. So there's nothing she can really do in getting the closure. That's closure at the very least, but nothing can come from that anymore. In the same way that Jean found out how Pyrrha felt about, spoilers by the way, Jean found out how Pyrrha felt about him at the very end of season 3 of volume 3 of Ruby, right before, like, she kissed him. That's all he needed to know. Everything about how she felt about him. She threw him in the locker, sent him on his way, and she died during the fight with Cinder in volume 3. And again, I don't know if they really like were hell-bent on giving Pyrrha a very I don't know what the word I'm looking for, like a mirrored image of Carolina, but I feel that more and more, especially when you look at the dynamic of their love interests, if you will. So I found that to be very interesting as well, because, I'm a bigger fan, I've been watching Ruby, like Ruby is what got me into the Rooster Teeth community, and every so often, like, I see another thing that relates Carolina to Pyrrha, to Jen Brown, which is based on Rooster Teeth and stuff like that. And I don't know, it's just a very interesting way of seeing a lot of the red versus blue DNA being reallocated to Ruby in that sense. So just another thing that was just a one-off thing that I noticed there because of the last batch, and I only noticed it during the last couple of weeks. I would have mentioned this in that batch of episodes with York and Carolina had I known it at the time, but I figured I'd mention it here. And with that, we're finally on the last episode, episode 16, which takes place a little bit in Valhalla, and then towards the end we see kind of everything coming together with Wash's storyline, with getting Epsilon's creation, and that whole process, which I have a lot to talk about. The one thing that I do want to mention, I don't really know where this is going to be going because it snapped to Project Freelancer from there, but Epsilon said that he needs to talk to Carolina, and I think it might be because of the fact that, Tucker and Caboose, really Tucker is kind of like, there's a bit of tension going on because Epsilon kind of knows what Carolina is going through. He also went through it himself. They know stuff about Project Freelancer that Tucker and Caboose don't know, so they're kind of keeping everybody else in the dark about that. And I don't know, I feel like it might be the fact that Carolina might open up to the Reds and Blues about what's gone on about, with Project Freelancer and why she's really going after the director, because after the episode where she after the York and Carolina moment, she opened up to Epsilon, and they kind of found some common ground with like, hey, we were both victims of the director and Project Freelancer and stuff like that. I thought at that point she was going to really open up to everyone, but she's still being a hard ass to the Reds, to the Blues. She, everyone, she's like, all right, pick up your things and we're moving when they just got there. That's their home, and she's really dragging them around. They really don't have to answer to her just because she's this, this hard ass, freelancer that just wants to do this mission, and she's grabbing whoever she can to help get that done. So, I don't know. I think Epsilon might get her to be like, hey, we need to kind of open up and talk about this and have everyone on the same page instead of it just being me in your head and me and you kind of doing this, doing our own thing regarding that. Because, people like Tucker and Caboose are a little bit suspicious on that. And because it really isn't, this is obviously bigger than any of them. But at the same time, it really has nothing to do with any of them. And now that Doc's back in the picture and Donut's back in the picture, and the Reds and Blues are back at their home base, I wonder if Epsilon is just going to go off and do their own thing, with Washington, or if maybe Washington's going to stay behind. Because I just really don't see how this is really everybody else's fight besides Carolina's and Epsilon's and Washington's, of course. I could see Washington going because Epsilon was his original AI. But I don't know. I think him mentioning, Epsilon mentioning to Carolina, I need to talk to you, is like, hey, things are brewing with my team, and we kind of need you to open up so that way everyone's on the same page, so no one's left in the dark, so we can, you need us, if you're going to start trusting us, start here, and just kind of lay things open and just go from there. So hopefully that's what happens, because he mentions, hey, I need to talk to you, and then it cut to the Recovery 1, the medical observatory, where Carolina was after the whole AI breakdown moment with Allison. We saw that York was there with her for days, did not leave her side ever. Again, that makes his death and everything so much more tragic, because he was so committed and dedicated to her. And you know what I mean? Like, I never even thought, like, now we're seeing those moments, right? Before, they were very subtle moments that I never really saw anything else other than, like, them two just looking out for each other. But now, like, the moments here where he has, like, he's holding her hand, he's by her bedside, he won't leave her side until she's okay. Just really goes to show what an all-around great guy he is, and the fact that he had such a big heart for her and for his teammates. So that was really painful to see, because it just reinforces the fact that, like, her seeing him when he's gone is just such a bittersweet conclusion to his story, because they felt a certain way about each other. No pun intended also, but things are also going south for South, because now I feel like at this point, a lot of the AI, the hunger for an AI is getting to her. I will say it was justifiable up to a certain point, because yeah, she's upset about Carolina. She's upset that Carolina took her AI. I think anyone would be, especially someone like Carolina, who's already like a special star student in the director's eyes. And she's already had an AI come and go from her, and she ended up taking not only South's, but Wash's as well. 2 AI at that. Didn't work out for her, so now she's trying, Tex called her a vulture, and she's like, and this is where things are lining up for South, where even Tex mentioned to North, like, hey, one soldier to another, you better watch your sister, because that's some next level bullshit to petition to get an AI from one of your teammates who you don't even know if they're going to live or die as of right now. So I guess the seeds were already sown in for South at this point, especially since I didn't even know, and I mentioned it earlier, but the way that the story was laid out for me made it seem like she was always never going to get one. But the fact that Delta mentioned, that the Dakotas were a test, and then in the classroom, South says, you didn't bring enough AI for everybody. The way the counselor looks at the director when she says that made it seem like things were going according to that test. And then now we see that she was actually going to get an AI, unless either A, that was rewritten or retconned, or the director decided to kind of debate her and like make it seem like she was going to get one, when in actuality that was never going to go to her in the first place. So it might have just been a test within a test to just push South even further over the edge, to where she becomes the type of person who wants to kill family just to get an artificial intelligence, which is really fucked up. So I think that's where the test is really manifesting now with South, where she's really like hungry for an AI. At this point, she doesn't even care which one she gets, because she's fine with getting a hand-me-down AI, being Delta, who doesn't even sync well with her, wasn't meant for her or anything like that. I really liked the heart-to-heart moment between Tex and North as well. And I mentioned that during my reaction, because I feel like since Project Freelancer, since season 9 really, Tex hasn't really had a character to herself. She's really just been an ace in the hole for whatever mission she goes on. She's not really there for any type of characterization. She's not really there to bond with her teammates, or to have moments like North and York did, or anything like that. She's there to kick ass, to take names, to to complete a mission, and that's really it. Especially with season 10, she's only come into the picture as of CT's death, you know what I mean? And like now she's in the picture. Up until now, she was in the picture because she was gonna have this grudge match with another, you know, with a rivaled freelancer, just to like, because their pride's on the line, because they're both very arrogant individuals that want to prove that they're better than the other. But I really liked how this batch and like her struggles with Omega really humanized her in a way that made her not as, I guess it just really made her a lot more humble, to where even North mentions like there's something different about you. And I guess it's just the fact of her realizing, I don't even know if it'd be really weird if she didn't know that she herself was an AI, but I don't know if she even knows what or who she is. But I don't know, I think in a way having Omega be a part of her and how strong of an influence he has on her made her realize that she's not as bad as he is, you know? And I don't know, it really made her feel a lot more human than she's been since we've gotten her introduction in season 9. And I know we get a lot of that characterization of her in the Blood Gulch Chronicles and, you know, in the Recollection trilogy and stuff like that, especially Epsilon Tex, but this is baseline original Tex, and up until now we haven't really gotten any of these kind of moments. And I think this is going to be a major change for her character, because we also know, based on what she mentions in season 8, was it season 8? Yeah, season 8, that, you know, she eventually like found out what the director was doing to Alpha. She led the break-in to get him out, and you know, everything else from there really spawned to her becoming her own person, not really being someone who's just used for the director, and really looking out for her team and looking out for these AI where, you know, they're all kind of friends. So I don't know, I just really liked the fact that we got a lot of those vulnerable moments of her, especially with no better person than North. I think North was like made for those kind of moments, because we've seen him interacting with Wash, we've seen him interacting with York, and now we're seeing him interact with Tex. And I don't know, I feel like all those moments are great. The fact that she may be an AI, but there's still parts of her that are human. She has fear, she's afraid of Omega, and you know, I feel like slowly but surely she's going to start caring more about these freelancers than simply just being fodder for these missions that she's just going on and completing because she's the ace in the hole for the director. I just really liked that. And we also found out that Washington is next up for surgery. And we get into the Epsilon moment, which was like, it's the straw that broke the camel's back. You would think after what happened to Carolina that they would stop doing this, but, you know, time marches on. You know, it's just a drop in the hat for the director. It's a minor setback in the grand scheme of his goals and ambitions. And we got to see the Alpha as well. And that was really hard for me to watch. It was very hard to watch, especially to go back and rewatch after the initial like reactions are all settled, because we haven't seen Alpha since the heist briefing, like the episode where him and the director, he's basically talking to himself, but the director talking to Alpha, making calculations, having small talk. He felt very human. He felt he was complete. He was the full version before, you know, Delta was created, and then all these other AI were getting spliced off and whatnot. And, you know, we all, like, Tex already kind of painted a bit of a picture for us regarding how these other AI were created by the help of Gamma and Omega. And in this scene too, we end up seeing that Sigma had a part and a hand in it. You know, like they created that whole conversation with the director and the counselor was just a deception by Sigma to push Alpha to go through a lot of trauma, and using Texas and Washington as well. I'm surprised they used Washington, considering they lied to the Alpha and said Washington died. But when you splice off that memory to Epsilon, Epsilon is going to be put into the mind of someone that he perceives as dead, based on that scenario that they gave him. And obviously they used Texas as the catalyst for creating Epsilon, because that is the biggest pain for him. It's the biggest pain for the director. And I think that's why the director even said to Gamma, he was like, Gamma, that's too much. Like, you're pushing him too much. Like, even for the director himself, I think Allison is his breaking point. And it would be the exact same thing for the Alpha, who is based on the director. So for the director to even tell Gamma, like, hey, you know, you might not want to go that far, even though that was a strong enough stimulus to create to create Epsilon, rather. I don't know. It just kind of gives you a little bit of perspective in like how much pain and joy Allison brought the director. Another thing that I was really heartbroken by was that Alpha felt so helpless in that scenario. I think as of right now, like as of me before I go into the next batch, the Alpha that is present now is the modern day Blood Gulch Chronicles Church. And it felt so bad too, because he mentions, he's like, the schematics, they're too complex. I need more time to work on them, it's because he doesn't have his logic. He doesn't have his trust. He doesn't have his rage. He doesn't have his ambition, his creativity. Nothing about him is there anymore, is whole anymore, right? He doesn't even understand the situation that he's in. He has no anger. So even though he's being toyed with mentally and he's being like broken down, he has no way of just expressing that because he doesn't have the anger in him to get upset about what the director is doing. He doesn't have the logic to understand that he's being tortured. He doesn't have the trust even to be like, you know, can I trust them? Can I not trust them? He doesn't have the fear. Like, he's not even afraid of his scenario. It's just a very sad and helpless situation and state for him, which is the complete night and day of what he was when we first saw him.
Okay, well, I just ran everything again. All calculations are up to date, taking into account standard delays for communication and response time. Our window looks good.
I agree.
Well, you should. I'm sure you'd make the same calculations I did, just, you know, more slowly.
Arrogance is a rather unbecoming trait, Alpha.
Are you seriously giving me a lecture on arrogance right now?
Hello? Don't leave. Hey, counselor, are you there?
I'm here.
What happened? Is everybody okay?
Perhaps you should ask the director.
Why? Does that mean something happened?
Hello, Alpha.
Director, please, what is going on?
There was another incident. Security failed.
Is it the schematics? They're too complex. I just need more time to work on them.
You know, and ultimately he's ignorant to everything. And I wanted to mention this too because I don't know if or when this is going to happen, or if it's going to happen in this next batch that I watch or in the finale batch, but Tex mentions that after a bunch of the freelancers went rogue, they all compared notes, and they found out that they relocated Alpha to Sidewinder, like that research facility and that like that ice place, like with all the snow in season 8. So right now, he's on the Mother of Invention. So I think after they get Epsilon, Wash is going to know what the director's doing. He's going to tell his freelancer buddies. He's going to tell Texas. Texas is going to lead everything. They're going to probably overthrow, whatever's happening there and try to find Alpha on the Mother of Invention. And then they're going to take the Alpha and move him to, like, the planet or wherever Sidewinder is and continue experimenting. And by the time they find the Alpha there, like, Epsilon is already the last one. And that's another thing that I wanted to kind of address before I get into the whole sarcophagus thing, is that the Alpha that we have right now is the embodiment of Blood Gulch Chronicles Church. He has no memories of the director. He has no memories of Project Freelancer, of his fragment, of his torture. Like, all of that, he's ignorant to all of that. So the only thing that he remembers, surprisingly enough, is that Tex is his girlfriend. And I wonder if Texas tells him that so he can remember that, or if that's just the lasting remnants of Church, like the fact of, like, no matter what he forgets, he'll always remember the bond that he had with Tex, with Allison, to never forget who she was, even though the memories of him thinks that she died and that's how he was created. So, I'm expecting the Sidewinder thing to start coming up relatively soon. Getting into that, obviously, the creation of the Alpha. What was inside of the sarcophagus? It was an engineer. And I got a little mixed up during my reaction because it's been years since I played Halo. I've mentioned this ad nauseum at this point. I've never played all of the Halo games. I played Halo 3, 4, Reach, in ODST in the order that they came out. So it was 3, ODST Reach, and 4. And I remember those creatures. They're called the Engineers or the Huragok. They're like a race of like, they're like a super intellectual, like advanced race. And they are a major plot element or a plot objective in ODST. But because I never played Halo 1 and 2, when I played ODST and I saw that thing, I was like, what the hell is that? So weird. But I never followed the story. I literally only ever played the Halo games for the campaign, for the custom matches, and for multiplayer. So I never really even understood what those creatures were, where they came from, what their purpose was. But it's super cool to see that they served a greater purpose, especially in Red vs. Blue, than anything else. So for the sake of context, what is a Huragok?
According to fandom, Huragok, known to humans as engineers, are a race of biological supercomputers that were created by the Forerunners. They are the only known non-combatant race to ever serve the Covenant, though some were rigged to explode as suicide bombers. According to Halo Waypoint, the Huragok, also known as engineers, are an artificial species created by the Forerunners for the purpose of, amongst other functions, maintaining and repairing technology and installations over long ages of time.
So basically, what these guys are Mr. Fix-Its. Okay, so really quick, if you guys know better than I do, let me know in the comments so I'm informed. I'm speaking based off of what Siri is telling me, based on the light research that I've done after watching this batch. But it seems like these creatures were created for the purpose of maintaining technology. And in this regard, the director basically obtained one through the Bjorndal Cryogenics Research Facility. They stole the data that told them about the sarcophagus that had one of these guys in it. And, you know, they went through the whole process of getting it. So essentially what happens is, and for greater context, I'll actually just pull up an excerpt so that way I'm saying this verbatim just so I understand it and you guys understand it for those who don't know. So with understanding the Huragok and how the director ended up using it for the entire purpose of creating the AI, an excerpt here reads, "The process of fragmentation is the torturing of the alpha to the point of mental instability, in which the alpha fragments pieces of its mind in order to protect its sanity. Then the Huragok, or the engineer, fixes and segregates the broken pieces and places them into a memory unit. The whole and fixed yet segregated piece of the alpha becomes one of the AI fragments." So basically, I guess the essence of a broken down, compartmentalized piece of emotion, it's considered like it's broken because it's a fragment of a whole. So then the Huragok takes that fragment, manifests it, if you will, places it into a capture unit, and thus creates a fragment in and of itself. So that's how it basically happened with Delta, because in the scene with Delta, you saw them dragging the sarcophagus away, and like the director says, he does it for everything.
That's right, it's broken. We broke it, and we need you to fix it just like you've done before. Here, take this. Use this to fix it. Make it better. Take away all that is broken. That's right. Put them in here.
And based on how the Huragok work, they basically maintain technology and installations over long periods of time. So it's basically a Mr. Fix-It if any type of technological, basically if any type of equipment breaks or needs to be fixed. And in this case, they broke off a fragment of an AI. They need to reassimilate it and make it whole to the best of their knowledge or to the best of their ability, so they make it into a fragment. So if anything, without this, he would never be able to have made these AI in the first place. My initial question is, what happens to this thing? Because I don't know if we end up seeing it again. I don't know what becomes of it after Project Freelancer. Do the freelancers kill it? Does it does it go and do its own thing? Does the UNSC take custody of it after the director is brought to justice? I have no clue. But there's one thing here, and this is where I'm going to get into my crazy brain scheming type of theory crafting here, because Sigma was very suspect. And there's a question that I still have yet to have answered that I don't know if it's going to be answered, and it's kind of been a curveball thrown at me ever since the classroom scene. And that is regarding Xi, the Xi AI. Sigma was really suspect because he was very adamant on wanting to be around to see the process of how Alpha was created. And I find that very odd because this really should have nothing to do with metastability.
We need stronger stimulus. He'll break.
He's ready. Bring in the stasis unit.
You three, log off.
Director, we would like to see this part of the process.
You can't get near the artifact. Too dangerous. Your job is done. Log off.
As you wish.
Get us another memory unit. A new one. Don't let it touch anything else.
Move all other equipment away from it.
That's right, it's broken. We broke it, and we need you to fix it just like you've done before. Here, take this. Use this to fix it. Make it better. Take away all that is broken. That's right. Put them in here.
It is done.
Welcome to the world, Epsilon. Today is your birthday.
And so for him to want to be calculating the combinations of achieving metastability and wanting to be around to see the process of how a fragment is created, does Sigma want to create his own AI? And I know saying that alone is impossible. I know it's coming from the mind of someone who's never seen RVB. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's going to happen. And it might give you guys some food for thought. But is Zai an AI created after the fall of Project Freelancer? And I say this for a couple of reasons. Number one, the origin of what Sigma means. What is the definition of the Sigma symbol?
According to study.com, Sigma is the 18th letter of the Greek alphabet and is equivalent to our letter S. In mathematics, the uppercase sigma is used for the summation notation. The lowercase sigma stands for standard deviation.
Okay, so basically, it says the uppercase sigma is used for summation notation, so the sum of an equation. So essentially, sigma is the sum of all of its AI counterparts. So basically, the meta is the summation notation, right? Metastability, his whole point of like being together, going after all of his fragments to be the sum of what they all are. And then standard deviation, I think that just represents the fact that Sigma really deviated more than any of his other brothers or sisters, in the fact that I understand creativity and ambition is very open-ended, but I also think to an extent it really meant that he was going against the grain. He was going against things the directors approved of, what he didn't approve of. He went against protocol. He's essentially the director in essence. Like everything the director stands for, everything the director does and doesn't do based on rules, based on his own ambitions, based on his own morals, really means like Sigma is free to deviate however he wants. So those are the two things that I really came across in terms of like calculating Sigma as a whole. But the reason I say, is he an AI created after the fall of Project Freelancer, is because Zai is utilized in the Reconstruction title for Reconstruction for Season 8. And I just think Reconstruction as a whole is a very interesting term to have him be a part of. Like, Reconstruction, what are you reconstructing? You know what I mean? Are you reconstructing the creation of artificial intelligence? Are you reconstructing the director's original process of creating AI? I really don't know. The only thing I can think of is that Zai is somehow, some way, a byproduct of whatever comes after. I don't know if he is, right? I don't know if he is created before everything goes to shit. I don't know if he's created afterwards and he's just created in secret. I don't know if Sigma somehow create, like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. The only thing, I'm spitballing here because Zai has been, like, Zai has been giving me such a freaking run for my money in terms of theory crafting, and he was on the Matrix board. I don't know if that means he's guaranteed to have been created, but I really think that there's more to Zai than meets the eye, especially, I know that rhymed too, but I really just think because Zai is the E in reconstruction, and reconstruction as a whole means to reconstruct or to build up, to rebuild. And since Project Freelancer goes down, and the whole point of Project Freelancer was the creation of AI, does something or someone take up the director's mantle and create AI in the future, right? Like, will Zai be created in the Chorus trilogy? Will there be more AI besides the ones that we know of? Especially since, number one, Sigma knows how it happens. He knows the Huragok is needed. He knows the process of which to push an AI to the point of fragmentation. So I don't know if it's going to be a whole AI or if it's going to be a fragment of something. If it's a fragment of something, it needs to be from a person, because Sigma himself is a fragment. Unless... Oh shit, I just thought of something. What if... Holy shit! What if... Now, this isn't even for Zai. This is just in general, right? So, Sigma takes over Main's body. Main becomes a husk, but Main is still Main. You know what I mean? Like, Main still has his bones, his flesh, his brain, all that stuff. So what if Sigma creates an AI based on the minds of all of the, like, the meta mind, like the hive mind of all of the fragments that are hosted within Main during the time between them leaving Project Freelancer to season 6. Because he has a mind to do it. He has Main's mind. It would be Main's body and brain, but it would really be the mind of Sigma in any AI that he's gotten up to that point. Yo, that'd be nuts if we get like a new strand of AI based off of the minds of the fragments, but through the process of using Main as like the brain host. Holy shit, that'd be nuts. I don't even have that in my notes. I just thought that up on the fly. Because I was like, there's no way Sigma can do it, because Sigma's a fragment. He's not like a full person, but he's utilizing a full person. So technically, I guess it would be the mind of Main. But then again, Main's like mind is gone and it's replaced with the meta, which is basically a hive mind of all of the AI up until this point. I just don't know if that's Zai or not, because I'm like hung up on Zai. I don't know if Zai comes in after, during the Chorus trilogy. I don't know if Zai is created before Project Freelancer, like as a last-ditch AI that they like toss away or they put in hiding, or it's not given a host by the time the Freelancers kind of run in and cause havoc. I don't know. I don't know. All I know is that Epsilon is created. Zai is kind of like an anomaly at this point unless we get more information. Alpha is the embodiment of Blood Gulch Chronicles Church at this point. So after Epsilon is gone off to Washington, the Alpha that remains right now, at the very least, unless they splice Zai off of them, which I don't really know if they'll even have time to at this point, because we have all of the AI that we know of up until this point. So at this point, something's going to happen. He's going to get relocated to Sidewinder. Tex and the gang are going to break him out, relocate him, I think, to Blood Gulch. And then the events of Red vs. Blue unfold with season 1, episode 1. I wonder if they're gonna what's the word I'm looking for? If they're gonna reenact the first episode after what happens with because season 10 canonically starts the events of season 1, since this is all prequel based. But I don't know. Those are just kind of my overall thoughts. Alpha is the Epsilon is the memories, and Alpha is, at this point, the only thing that really remains is his sanity. But yeah, that's everything. I know that was kind of like all firing on all cylinders at the very end there, and I'm pretty sure this video is going to be like a few hours long as they've been these last couple weeks. But yeah, that Zai theory, I really wonder if that will fucking happen. If Main will really succeed at creating his own AI based on utilizing the host of Maine with the mind of all of the meta, like basically the meta's hive mind of like Delta, and I don't know about Delta because Delta was one of the last ones to be taken, but like all of the other ones, or if at least not that, at least Sigma, because Sigma is still a part of Maine's construct at that point, until he starts going and hunting all these other AI. But yeah, ultimately, that's all of it. That's all of my thoughts, theories, speculations, predictions for episodes 14 to 16. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I really hope it didn't really just kind of like go off the deep end towards the end there with the theory crafting and whatnot. Everything's coming together. These last couple of episodes, I feel like are going to be heart-wrenching for me because it's only going to get worse. The director is going to give Epsilon to Wash. Washington's going to die with the birth of Epsilon. The Alpha is going to be still tortured until the last minute. Tex is going to come back and try to save the day. I don't know what Carolina's mindset's going to be like, especially since I think they take the 2 AI that are given to her, because she doesn't have them anymore. So what's going to become of Ada and Iota between now and then? If the meta turns into the meta, are those going to be the first ones that he grabs because they're still going to be on the mother of invention until shit goes down for whatever the hell's going to happen? And I don't even know how the finale is going to wrap up. I don't even know how season 10 as a whole is going to wrap up for not only the Chorus trilogy for the present, but also how things are left off in the past with Project Freelancer leading into Blood Gulch Chronicles with season 1. But I have 2 batches left. I do appreciate, again, all of you guys who have stuck through with these discussions, especially with the length that they've been in my rambles and all that stuff. I know for those of you who do watch these, you guys enjoy them, and I enjoy making them, and I appreciate the fact that you guys love hearing my thoughts, even though Red versus Blue, this has all been said and done years ago, but I definitely appreciate it. The next batch we're going to get into is 17, 18, and 19, and the finale batch is going to be 20, 21, and 22, so we have a couple weeks before I wrap up the reactions for season 10. Have no idea what's going to happen. I'm already anxious just thinking about it. Like I said, I have the soundtrack reaction, and then I have the overall wrap-up with the review of season 10 as a whole. But ultimately, as always, thank you guys so much for the support. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, leave your thoughts in the comments, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care.